What's good, you guys? You know who it is, man. It's your boy, Mr. Relentless Lex, and I'm back like I never left this mother. Yes, Sirski. Hello, somebody. All right, so, man, you guys, we got Faith Evans reveals how Kidada Jones confronted her for sleeping with Tupac. Now, bro, I know y'all might say, Lex, let Tupac rest. Let Biggie rest. And Faith, she's out of here. Her career is done and over, and we get that part. But growing up in those days, I've always wondered, Biggie's lyrics says, if Faith had twins, she probably would have Tupacs. Get it? Tupacs. Now, my thing is this. I want to know, did she really let Pac clap the cheeks knowing that she was married to Biggie? I don't care if they were separated, divorced, or whatever. Pac and Big was tight at one point in time, then they became rivalries at one point in time. So it still is messed up either way you put it if Faith gave up the punani to Tupac. That's crazy. Spicy.
Child, can I just say that the way Faith Evans keeps on denying that she hooked up with Tupac is giving diabolical at this point, especially since we've literally had eyewitnesses.
Now, I ain't one to gossip, but I seen this one with my own eyes.
She said she saw it.
Screw Tupac. She got in the car with
Wow.
him that night when he left the club. We was all at the Century Club, baby. Anybody that knew the club that was popping back in the day was the Century Club. B, I love you, much respect, my nigga. Yeah, Faith Little Cuckoo was hot. She went back with Pac that night. She jumped in the car. I don't know if they ever made it to the hotel, or she just did the Jewel experience in the limo.
Wow.
I open the door, all I see is black hood on, black, everything black, right? She strike like been there before. She strike and look. She said, "Hey, Drew," and just boom, and made a left. I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" She said, "Nigga, that's Faith." I said, "Faith Evans?" Because she's a light bright, I already knew. Because she was thin then, you know what I'm talking about, hella thin. He's like, "Yeah, nigga." I'm like, "All right, my nigga, I'm gone."
Yes, they were sitting in a little, we call it a red room. It's like a little private room.
Wow, bro.
No bigger than
That's
a
crazy.
They had a little couch in there. That's where niggas would go, either whoop on somebody, or mainly to go and hook up with a chick. And he was sitting in that room. For some reason, I was going into that room, or just checking around, doing studio checks and all. And they were in there, and he was pushing, at that time, hit her head down towards his genitals. That's all I saw.
So, allegedly, Faith was approached by Pac's girl, Kidada Jones, about what was going on. And guess what? She still denied it. Well, I've gathered all the receipts and testimonies from people who swear that there was something going on. And I personally don't see why they would all lie about such a thing. What I'm more concerned about is, why does Faith keep denying it? And what's the deal with her and Kidada? Okay, if there's one thing we know, it's that Tupac and Kidada didn't quite get off on the right foot. The thing is, Tupac criticized Quincy Jones in an interview where he spoke about Quincy's interracial relationships and having mixed-race children. At the time, Kidada Jones' sister, Rashida Jones, slammed Tupac in an article, calling into question his moral compass and shaming him for having a lack of respect for her dad. Then Kidada Jones and Pac met months later at a nightclub, and Tupac approached Kidada, believing her to be Rashida Jones, to apologize for his previous comments about their father. And in a rather unexpected turn of events, they fell in love, and they were together until Tupac's untimely death. Kidada even wrote about Tupac's final hours in her father's autobiography, saying that Tupac was the love of her life, and they lived together for 4 months until he was unalived in Las Vegas in 1996. Kidada also said that the experience was the most horrible thing that ever happened to her, and on the night of Tupac's death, she was in a hotel room they booked together when she received the call. Then when she got to the hospital, Kidada was handed Pac's blood-stained clothes at the hospital and told her fiancé had lost all blood blood pressure on arrival. According to what she wrote in the biography, Kidada said to Pac as he lay in the hospital bed, "Do you know I love you? Do you know we all love you?" And Tupac nodded, convulsed, and fell into a final coma. Kidada also wrote in her father's autobiography, "I knew we should have never gone to Vegas that night. I had a horrible feeling about it. I've gone over it in my mind a million times. It wasn't supposed to happen. We weren't supposed to be there. It was the worst possible thing that could have happened." Well, one thing about Pac is that he was a ladies' man, and he...
Wow, they say Pac wasn't supposed to be there. Biggie wasn't supposed to be there. On his unaliving night, when Biggie was unalive, they say he was supposed to be in Puerto Rico or somewhere on some type of vacation, but Puffy, like, nah, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to go to Vegas. You got to go to Vegas. That's crazy, bro.
allegedly slept with
That's
a bunch
crazy.
of women, including Faith Evans. Well, at the time, Faith Evans was also dating Biggie after they met at a promotional photo shoot for Bad Boy Records in 1994. And while talking about how quickly they got married, Biggie said, "I married her after knowing her 8 days and I was happy. That was my baby." At the same time, with us being so spontaneous, we did it backwards. But when it comes to this relationship, there were always reports claiming that Biggie was cheating on Faith with multiple women, including Lil' Kim. And Faith even fought Lil' Kim numerous times over Biggie. In fact, Faith's main hatred towards Kim at the time was because Kim and Biggie acted like they were like family, but were really messing around. She even once told a story about how she went to Biggie's house around the holidays and caught him and Kim naked in bed. Then Biggie tried to convince Faith that he didn't sleep with Kim. Anywho, around this time, Tupac and Biggie were also feuding, and for those who recall, the feud further escalated when Faith Evans collaborated with Pac on a song and was even photographed next to him, which led to rumors of them having an affair.
Yeah,
But
I
when
thought
Faith
that was
asked
crazy.
about her involvement in the feud.
Whenever she did that song with Pop, man, that was crazy. It was a good song, but that was like the worst double cross in history.
And
For real.
working with Tupac, she acted like she didn't even know what people were talking about.
I went to the studio. I realized there were a bunch of death row people there, so kind of in my mind, it all started kind of figuring it out. I started figuring it out like right there, like, okay. So, I mean, I played it off and played it cool, even though I didn't think, that was a good look just because of the fact of the Suge and Puff situation. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't really know a lot of the details about what happened, but it was clear that he took a jab at Puff at the Source Awards and stuff like that. But I was pretty oblivious to a whole lot of the things that had gone on prior to that, until
Man, let's just call a spade, Faith, bro. Come on, bro. You was trying to get your bag, man. You know exactly what the hell was going on, man. You'll be more better off saying, "Hey, listen, I was just trying to get my paper. I didn't try to take it too far. Biggie was screwing who he wanted to screw, and I had my eyes on Pac, and I was getting a 2-for-1. I was getting some cock, and I was getting some paper." You know what I'm saying? So let's just call a spade, Faith. Come on now.
Later, you know what I mean? So I just played it cool because I'm a people person, and some of the people I had seen before or seen in passing or knew who they were, so I gave them respect, gave them a dab, Corrupt, whoever, smoking with people, drinking a Budweiser, just trying to, be cool in the moment to get the thing done, you know what I mean?
Like, Faith wants us to believe that everyone else knew that there was a feud between Tupac and Biggie, yet she, who was dating Biggie, had no idea about what was going on. Crazy stuff. In fact, when people were saying that she had an affair with Pac, Faith threw Tupac under the bus, saying that when it was time for Pac to pay her the $25,000 she said she was owed, she went to Pac's hotel to collect, and Pac allegedly told her to give him a blowjob. In her words, it was a very surprising and offensive way for sure. By that time, it was pretty clear to me, it seemed to me that was kind of like a plan. I kind of allowed myself to be played and allowed myself to get into the situation because this is totally not how I operate. That ain't how I do business, and that was never up for discussion as far as that being an exchange. That's not what it was about. I mean, she was obviously lying about not knowing about the beef, and she keeps lying about never hooking up with Tupac, even though several people have confirmed the allegations. Well, if there's one person who was out here confirming that Faith did in fact hook up with Tupac, it was Jaguar Wright.
You married Biggie when you wanted Tupac. That's hilarious.
Very hilarious.
You
That's
won
crazy.
Grammys, but you settled for ghostwriting for a whore like Mary J. Blige. That's hilarious.
She actually said that Biggie's mom
Wow.
would probably have preferred for Biggie to marry Lil' Kim, because that's somebody who actually loved on her son. Then she said that Faith Evans settled for a life that is so far beneath her when she's one of the most talented female artists in the world. But you know what else caught the attention of many people? Jag suggesting that Faith may not even know her baby daddy, because she was hooking up with both Big and Tupac around the same time she got pregnant. Apparently, allegedly, somebody she knows even took photos of Tupac and Faith when they were hooking up in the booth at Death Row.
Hilarious is pretending like you didn't know, that you weren't sure whether or not you were carrying Tupac's babies. That's hilarious.
Wow. So that what Biggie was talking about in his song. He said if Faith have twins, she probably have Tupacs. Get it? Tupacs. Twins. 2 as the number 2 and the name of Tupac. Yeah, Biggie had flipped that. He flipped that for real.
Hilarious is both of the I
Dang.
know and kick it with that worked at Death Row that heard Pac you in the booth and took pictures of your very high yellow ass getting by that very gorgeous dark-skinned thin man who was so much different than your obese husband who you didn't know.
Child, trust Jaguar to drop the T.
Dang, Jaguar
and see.
cold.
Anyway, we also had somebody like Spice
Dang.
One also confirming that there was definitely something intimate going on between Faith and Tupac.
Faith, that was Pac's girl. That was not his girl, but that was, you know, that was him and her and Pac had something together. They was buddies. You know, it's to say this, but we gonna keep it real. A lot of mother, you know, I don't want to kill nobody's game or nothing, but you know, a lot of you got one that you know that don't give a who you with, and you don't give a who she with. From infinity until beyond, y'all, period. And that was Pac and Faith.
Another person who said that he definitely witnessed something going on was Ray J. Yep, he said at the time that when he started interacting with the likes of Tupac, he was a bit young, but he was old enough to see what was going on. Based on what he said, he saw Faith Evans sitting on Tupac's lap in the kind of way that would suggest that there was something going on between them. Even Desiree said that Tupac 100% slept with Faith Evans. Well, based on what she said, once Tupac left prison, he was on a revenge mission, and he wanted to hook up with all of Biggie's girls. Apparently, he knew that Lil' Kim would never budge because she was hella loyal to Biggie. But Faith, on the other hand, Tupac knew that she was the weaker link. So after he got out, he made sure he slept with her and even called Desiree the next day to tell her all about it.
I got a phone call the next day.
Wow.
He called me and he's like, I did it. And I'm like, what? What you did? He's like, that just left my hotel. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, Faith. And I was like, oh. Okay.
Wow.
Great.
Bro. Damn.
Got off the phone with him, started throwing up violently. You know, I guess in essence, while we sitting talking about it, it was cool. When he actually did it, you know, it kind of bothered me. But I could say this, that man ain't never lied to me one day in his life. I've never caught him in a lie.
That's crazy.
Good, bad, or indifferent. He always kept it real with me, so, you know, I don't see why he would lie ever on his dick.
Honey, even Suge Knight said not so long ago that he definitely also heard noises. Of course, it's not possible that all these people were lying, because what would they possibly have to gain by lying about Tupac hooking up with Faith? Plus, it also didn't help that Tupac doubled down on the allegation when he dropped the knockout diss track Hit 'Em Up, on which he took aim at Big with the scathing opening line saying he hooked up with his wife. And Biggie himself also rapped in a song that if Faith had twins, she'd probably have 2 Pacs. I mean, with all these receipts, how on earth did Faith think anyone would believe that nothing happened between her and Tupac? Girl. Anywho, apparently Kidada Jones also approached Faith Evans to ask her if she hooked up with Tupac. But like I said, she once again denied it. In fact, based on what I've read, Faith didn't think she owed Kidada any explanation because word on the street was that Kidada was not as important to Tupac as how she was trying to portray it. There have actually been 2 reports about why Kidada was not with Pac on the night that Tupac was targeted. One was that Tupac told Kidada to stay back at the hotel because he was trying to keep her out of harm's way, thinking something anything might go down that night. The other one was that Tupac wanted to go about his business without her around because she wasn't that important. It's also been said that Kidada and Tupac were engaged, but after Pac's death, some of his friends hinted that their relationship was nowhere near close to them being engaged. Well, I personally don't know if Kidada and Tupac were that serious, but if this is what Faith told Kidada when she approached her, that must have hurt big time. I also don't know why she keeps denying that she hooked up with Pac, but what do y'all think could be the reason? Has she been lying for so long that it would just be awkward to tell the truth now? Is it that she doesn't want people to see her as a traitor? Let me know your thoughts.
Man, I tell you one thing. I tell you what, the HE double hockey sticks, I freaking think. I think she gave up the panty drawers to Pac, bro. Bro, how can everybody say this? Everybody is co-signing that Faith slept with Pac. The only person's in denial is Faith. Faith is in denial. Nah, nobody was there besides the ones who say they heard Pac beating the cheeks. But they said if it looked like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it might be a freaking duck. And right now, Faith, Pac treats you like a duck. So Faith, just go quack, quack, and go ahead and admit it. Just put your little quack, quacks out there, Faith. It's okay. It's okay. Don't be ashamed.